So today we have a very special guest to me and my family. She has dedicated her life to assisting and bringing little humans earthside while also providing safety and comfort to mothers and fathers. Not only was she my doula, she has now become a midwife, a yoga instructor, founder and owner of Sugar Pot Birth and Wellness LLC. Let's welcome my doula, Sam, to the Evolved Nurse podcast.
Hi, Lakeisha.
Hello. So the first thing that I like to ask to anybody who comes onto the podcast, was being a midwife something that you always wanted to do?
Not necessarily being a midwife specifically. To be honest, I didn't even know midwifery was still happening the way that it is until I got really heavy into birth doula work. And I always wanted to be a pediatrician. That's what I wanted to be as a kid. I was like, I'm going to be a pediatrician. I love babies and I'm going to be a pediatrician.
Mm-hmm. So what stopped you from going towards pediatrics?
The schooling requirement, if I'm honest. It felt daunting and it felt like I would never truly, it didn't feel like I would be doing exactly what I was called to do. So I decided to take a step back and really experience the life and experience a couple different careers to really find out what my calling was.
And how did you figure out what your calling was?
Haphazardly, kind of, I guess. I've been doing doula work for, I guess now, prior to starting midwifery school for about 10 years. And I loved it. I did a lot of postpartum doula work to begin because that still is my passion. Postpartum, I feel like people get forgotten. Everyone's excited about pregnancy and birth. So I moved to Florida, ended up relocating to Gainesville, and there was a traditional midwifery school literally 10 minutes from where I lived. I decided to apply. I was like, this feels like a good in between pediatric work, working with the maternal side, the birthing side. And I found that there was a lack of advocacy, especially for Black and Brown people that were giving birth. So it really, I hate to sound like a cliche, but it found me in the way of being able to level up. And we need more people that look like us helping us navigate this healthcare world.
Yes, and I know that and I probably say this on every episode, but I remember a nursing clinical instructor told me that you don't find nursing, nursing finds you. Whatever your calling is, you kind of stumble upon it. You have no idea that this is where you were going to be 10 years down the road, that you were going to be a midwife. So tell me what the steps look like for you to become a doula.
To be honest, there are so many different avenues and different things that you can do to become a doula. My favorite thing to tell people that is that you don't have to go to a school to be a doula. You don't have to go take a course or a program. Everyone is a doula at heart. If I walked down the street and you were on the street and you hurt yourself, I would stop and say, Lakeisha, I wouldn't know your name, but I would say, are you okay? Is there anything I can do for you? That's a form of douling someone. That's a form of caring. Now, in order to be the most effective doula, you want to go get some education so that you know what birth entails, what postpartum entails, what's important. So initially, I was working off of my education from being an EMT and from being in the hospital setting and background, and just people coming to me and asking, can you come and help me do this postpartum? Can you come and help me do this? And it evolved and transitioned into doing more strategic things to make sure that they were taken care of. There's several programs now. I personally went through Common Sense School of Midwifery, their doula program, to see what I was missing, is what I tell people, because I had already been doing it for so long at that point, and I had already started doing births, and I found out that I was missing the community of people that were also doing this work and connecting with others, because I can't be everywhere. And I was getting calls from people all over Florida. You're an hour and a half away from me. And I was like, okay, yes, let's do it. So really connecting with people and building a village around the doulas. And then also realizing that there's so much legislation and there's so many laws and there's always something that's forever changing. So really picking a lane and deciding, am I going to go full heavy into this legislation and really try to make a change on this end, or am I boots on the ground looking to make sure that when we go into hospitals, when people are having home births, they're heard, they're seen, and their needs are met? And that's the avenue that I took. While I'm aware and I know the things that are going on legislation wise, I passed that torch on to someone else that's passionate and has the knowledge to do those things. Otherwise, I would probably never be able to attend a birth or never be able to be with families the way I want to.
Yes, because I remember when I was not really first introduced to home births, but I remember my dad initially told me, that he was birthed by a midwife, the midwife who came into your home and probably didn't have the licensure for that. And then they started putting strict boundaries around what a midwife looked like and included that legislation with which took a lot of Black women out of the equation when it came to doing births. So I ended up meeting a underground midwife. And she was almost finished with school, and she decided that she didn't want to finish school because she didn't want all the confines around her as it related to that legislation. So I can understand where you're coming from when you say, you had to build a community, but let me offset this so that I can actually pay attention to the needs of my parents, because sometimes it's not going to look exactly legal, because they can kick you out of the rooms if they want to. They can do what they want to if you're in the hospital setting. So you do have to be very careful of what you do, how you say things if you're in that setting in
Mm-hmm.
particular.
And there are many doulas. There's some doulas that find it challenging to do hospital births for that reason. And
Mhm.
while I am a firm believer that everyone deserves a doula, everyone deserves to have that support, our Black and Brown women and people giving birth, they are dying in hospitals. And I'm also a proponent. I'm also a supporter of, we need hospitals. There's reasons to go to the hospital. There are reasons why people need to give birth in the hospital. I'm grateful that the operating room exists because we would be losing more people. With that being said, there's also a lack of informed decision making happening in the hospital system
Mhm.
because people, doctors, some nurses, they are not trained the same way that we are to make sure that people feel included in their decision. They're trained medically and they're trained to recognize when something is not the way that it looks in the book or the way that it looks like when they were trained. So I think it's important for people in the hospitals to have access to doulas. And it is my prayer that one day hospital systems find a way to work cohesively with doulas so that there's always one there, always one available, and one that is culturally knowledgeable. You may not know everything about a culture, but you can go in and you can say, okay, this is how we're doing this. This is what you believe. This is how your family is run. And I'm here to support you no matter what it looks like.
And how do you navigate the space of going into the hospitals? Because I know we'll have some doulas that are listening that they have never gone into the hospital, or they have and they weren't able to navigate the space exactly how they wanted to advocate for their patient.
So I navigate entering hospital spaces by making sure I introduce myself and build a relationship with whomever is there, making sure that people know that I'm a doula. And if I'm honest, sometimes they don't know that I'm a doula. I just come in and I'm the family member. I think I remember telling you I'm either the sister that you didn't know that you ever wanted, or I'm the sister that you already have, but now you got another one that's going to really annoy you. Um,
Mhm.
I try to make sure that I fill out the space and do the research before I go. And in the actual birth process or in the actual postpartum process, I I don't talk to the hospital staff. I don't feel like I have a reason to. I make sure that prior to giving birth or even going to the hospital, I have made the partner aware of how they can advocate and how we can communicate without the hospital staff feeling that I'm influencing decisions. And then I make sure that the person that's giving birth understands their rights. They know how to decline things that they don't want or how to delay making a decision. And then we also talk about emergencies. Like these are things that we can't ask them to give us a minute to think about. This is why it would be an emergency. And I really spend time building that relationship with a family. I try to so that they know kind of my ticks, kind of my face of like, let's give a minute. Let's take a minute. I try to make sure that partners know how to advocate and make sure they're included in the decision making process. Because oftentimes the person giving birth doesn't, they're with it and they're there and their focus is on making sure that they're connected with their body and what's going on. So I really try to make sure that I communicate with the family. I stay out of the hospital staff's way for lack of better terms. And if necessary, I make sure that I have that effective communication line. So just making sure that you're navigating hospital spaces without causing uproar and the hospital staff feel like they need to be defensive against you.
Yeah, I think that is very safe to make hospital, and I am a hospital staff member.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of safe to make them feel like appease to them a little bit, because we know how hard it is to go through births, not know what we want to do, what we want to say. And then sometimes it almost feels like we can't advocate for ourselves because they almost feel like they know us better. But it's we're taught often that we treat the patient, not the machine. Like, we're treating the patient. If they tell you something, you listen. But unfortunately, sometimes people are operating in unconscious or conscious biases that make them not see us as clearly as we are, which is why we have such a high mortality rate right now.
Very true. And I will say, usually nurses are excited to see doulas come in. They're like, "Oh, you got a doula? Great." It's not like they feel as though they have less work to do. They're like, "Oh, you have somebody that's in your corner no matter what, and they're going to make sure that you understand what's happening when these doctors come in." Because nurses oftentimes they can't say sometimes what they feel, even if it's against what is being recommended or what's being told to the patient. But they know that if you've got a solid doula, they're gonna be like, hold on a minute, give the family a moment, let them discuss what you're offering to them. Can you come back in 5 minutes? So I have built a great relationship with nurses, and I have built a great relationship with the doctors that I work with or that I've come in contact with as well. So it's truly been a nice journey. That doesn't mean that I haven't had to advocate and I haven't had to
Mhm.
have those discussions out in the hallway. And I try to make sure that I separate the family from that when that discussion is happening so that it's not directed towards the family once that conversation is done.
Yeah, because I know that it is hard having those conversations, navigating having a baby, all the emotions around having a baby, thinking about your safety,
Mhm.
and someone asking you a question. From my experience, I don't know. Like, please don't ask me anything. I think at one point I told, "Can you hush, please? Can you please
You
hush?"
were top notch. You are on the, when I talk to clients about these are the things that I've experienced, I'm always, and then I had this client, and I think about your face with that one particular question. Oh, priceless. And it was
Look, I was
great because even though you were a nurse, you were like, no, I don't ask me anything, figure out how to do it, or wait until I have come about myself. And I loved it. I was like, yes, it's exactly
And you
what.
told me that. Now, I do understand. I have a question from Dad. So I was like, give me a question or something that you have for Sam,
Mhm.
because you helped us bring our little into the world. And
Yes.
so he said, well, his question was, let's see. He asked, what made you want to do what you're doing at this point in your life? And how long did it take you to get there? Which is something that you've already answered, but I'm saying it because he asked.
And you know how I go. If dad asks, you make sure you let me know so that I can answer. Everybody has an equal voice. That's a really great question. I can't say exactly at this point in my life. I can say I'm more mature at this point in my life. I'm more patient and I'm more compassionate than I was when I started doing doula work. So even if that means, um, people are judgmental. I'm judgmental. I try not to be, but I have judgments about how people do things, why people do things. I wish that people were kinder and that, um, I wish that we weren't dying in childbirth and that our babies weren't dying. So my goal in every family that I come in contact with, I have digressed from thinking that I can change the world, and maybe I can in some way or another. I just want every family to feel like their birth experience was kind. And if that's the feedback that I can get, no matter what happens or what goes on, I feel like at this point in my life, I will feel as though I am accomplishing my life's goal, my life's mission, to make sure that medical care is a little bit kinder. And I love your husband because he just he's so quiet, but he always has like these profound moments where you're like, "Is that you? Is that the same person?" So thank you for that question. I think that at this point in my life, the compassion that I have for people is much greater, and it allows me to do this work most effectively.
Thank you. And I'm sure he will enjoy your answer because you're interviewing her. I'm like, yes, I am. But can you tell us the difference and what it looks like to be a postpartum doula versus I what's the
Birth
what
doula,
is
a full spectrum doula.
okay, gotcha.
So a postpartum doula, I strictly did the postpartum work where I came in. Sometimes I would do overnight, so I would come in and take care of baby while the parents were asleep, or similar to what a nanny does, except I didn't do too much of the housework unless it was washing baby's clothes, cleaning up some dishes that are left from the day, really focusing on making sure that the person that gave birth is healing properly, making sure they have access to supplements, making sure they understand what's necessary for their body to heal and that they're resting. For some people, it looked different. A lot of the people that I took care of postpartum, they had demanding jobs, or they were athletes, or they were in some sort of position where they were not resting the way they needed to postpartum. They were not able to because of the demand on their life. With that being said, they also had access to things that the general person does not. They could get into these recovery machines and devices. They were able to focus directly on what they were working on, and then they could come back and then they would rest. This also gave them the opportunity to bond with their baby in a different way, making sure they understood the importance of those things. For some people, postpartum work just looked like coming in, making sure they had meals, giving them visits, spending time with them. It became most crucial after those first 2 weeks when everybody else was like, "Oh yeah, you had a baby, great, all right, that's wonderful, back to life." And then when it comes to being a birth doula, then you talk about the on-call hours, you talk about the childbirth education prenatally, doing the prenatal visits to build those relationships with families, and really when I transitioned into birth work is when I started really getting attached to people because you spend so much time with them. And then once postpartum happens, I had to learn how to detach. Unless people stay connected with me, I try to make sure that um, I give that space for them to transition into the new family role. But really it adds on the aspect of being knowledgeable about birth and all the things that come along with that.
Yes. So we have talked a lot about being a doula, but guess what, y'all? My doula is now a midwife. She has gone on over to the other side. So what is the difference between being a doula and being a midwife?
It adds on the medical aspect. For everyone, it looks different. And I think that it's been beneficial for me to have been a doula prior to becoming a midwife. It brings in that extra sprinkle of kindness and compassion. Um, the midwifery, of course, comes with the medical side of making sure that you're monitoring what's happening prenatally from a medical aspect. I tell people that I'm basically an OBGYN with a bag. And if whatever I have in my bag can't fix your problem, then you got to go see the OBGYN that went to school for a really, really long time.
Mhm.
So it's still having those conversations, still giving that informed consent. Midwifery allows that unique perspective of building the relationship still without, with the knowledge of the medical aspect in your bag.
Okay. So what would you say you have learned since becoming a midwife?
I have learned that birth can be, I don't want to scare anybody. I have learned that birth can be dangerous, it can be
Mhm.
scary, and it can ultimately be um, it can change people's lives forever if it's not handled accordingly. What I've also learned as a midwife is that with the proper care, people can have a low risk and healthy birth outside of the hospital without intervention. It does not require um, it doesn't require an emergent reaction to everything that occurs. People's bodies handle pregnancy differently, and I have become a better listener since becoming a midwife because now I'm the person that people are coming to with these medical questions. As a doula, I would be like, oh, you should probably contact your midwife. You should probably
Mhm.
call your OB. Like, here's my 2 cents on it and make sure you ask them. Now I listen and I'm very aware of how and why people are affected the way we are, specifically stress, especially our Black women, and how it manifests in different ways in our bodies, which is why I'm very passionate about having clients to take care of themselves, to go to wellness retreats, to go to the spa, to do the things that I'm constantly probably not doing enough for myself, but making sure that we take the time to step away. I don't think that I ever have to tell a client, you should work more because of whatever reason. Typically, they're like, oh, I'm working up until whenever. And I'm like, when are you going to have time for yourself right before this baby comes to make sure that you're good so that when the nights are sleepless, you have that reserve to fall back on. So really just the compassion that I have grown since being in the space of being a midwife.
Look, I love that. And I think that, we try not to talk about the scary things, but birth is like
Mm-hmm.
it is a little, and I don't like to talk about it either because I remember when I was pregnant and like my mom would call my phone and she'd be like, "You're not scared?" And I'd be like, "Look, I have to get off the phone right now because you're not going to instill fear in me around this pregnancy." But I do think that it's the reality. The
Mm-hmm.
reality is that sometimes we're not heard, sometimes we're not seen. That goes for us and, other moms, but specifically for Black and brown patients, like advocating for yourself should include a doula. Like I am a advocate and I push for anyone who is pregnant right now. If your insurance can allow for you to have a doula and you can afford it,
Mm-hmm.
get one because there are going to be times where you're not going to want to say anything. You may not be like me and be able to say, "Hey, can you not talk right now?" Or you may not be able to advocate for yourself in the way that Sam taught me to advocate for myself or have a voice for yourself. So I think it's very, very important that you do have a doula because the rate in which we're seeing Black mothers pass away and the fact that it has not decreased over these years. I don't know if you all have seen the last report, but mortality rates for every other race have decreased and ours have either remained the same or increased.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's very, very important that you enlist someone like Sam, like the other doulas that are out there. She's not a doula anymore, but there are so many other doulas that are out there that are willing and ready to help you. And I know a few, so um after the video I'll let you know some doulas that I know. But aside from that, it birth is scary. And
Mm-hmm.
that's where Sam came in. She made birth seem light for me. Um we're not going into my birth story right now, but but how have you been feeling lately with births? Like what are your feelings around that now?
I'm loving it more than ever, because I am the type of provider and I was the type of doula that if I'm not the provider or the doula for you, I'll find you somebody. I'll send you some resources. I think that it's so important to find someone that you resonate with, whether you believe in the same things, you do the same things, whatever the case may be. Um, when it comes to births now, I'm excited. I love the fact that the people that are choosing um, to trust me with their birth process and to trust me with giving them the information that they need is it's an overwhelming feeling. I am also aware that legislation is changing almost daily.
Mhm.
Sometimes something new is coming in. I'm aware that our Black and Brown women in certain counties in Florida have doubled in the mortality rate, which is just heartbreaking. And I'm also aware that there are midwives all across Florida that are also doing this work. They're also making sure that they're doing their part to ensure that our families are safe. So I'm feeling great. I'm feeling wonderful. I'm excited about what's to come. I'm hoping to I think I can say this out loud. I'm hoping to have a birth center that's opening soon so that families can give birth inside of their home or in a space that's safe for them. So I'm just excited.
This episode of the Evolved Nurse podcast is brought to you by Yoni Potion, the natural wellness beverage crafted for women by women. Ladies, let's be real. When it comes to health, we often put everyone else first. But here's the thing. Your body deserves care too, especially when it comes to something as important as your vaginal health. That's where Yoni Potion comes in. It isn't just any health drink. It's a natural game changer, made with natural ingredients like pineapples, ginger, apple cider vinegar, and more. It creates a natural probiotic for a healthy microbiome. Yoni Potion helps you maintain balance from the inside out. It's all about keeping your pH levels in check, supporting hormone health, and helping you feel comfortable and confident in your own skin. Oh, did I mention it was delicious? Whether you're hitting the gym, powering through a busy workday, or just need to pick me up, Yoni Potion is there to keep you feeling your best because when your body feels good, you feel unstoppable. So if you're ready to embrace your health and take charge of your wellness journey, head over to yonipotion.com and check out Yoni Potion. That's YONIPHOTION.com. Listeners can get 10% off using code POTION, P capital H O T I O N 10 on your first order. It's time to treat your body with the care it deserves. Yoni Potion, because wellness starts from within. Now back to the show. So, as you know, well, as you heard in the introduction, she helped to bring my little one here. And we're going to talk a little bit about my birth story. So, I found Sam on social media. I was looking for, in particular, I was looking for a Black woman doula. And I found her on social media. And I was like, hey, this may be well for me. But initially, I never went to an OBGYN. So that may not be for you, but I went directly to a midwife. And my midwife, I can say that I liked my experience, but I did kind of feel like my experience was taken from me a little bit because they did lead with that they had a woman of color on their staff and they did not. They did, however, have a student who was of color, but she was in the process of leaving their company. And so in my experience, that did bring some form of distrust because they told me that she would be in on my birth and she wasn't. Can you hear me, Sam?
Yes, I can.
Okay. And she wasn't. But let's talk about how I met Sam and what I was doing, right? So I met Sam and I was about to go on a travel assignment. So what did that look like for us, Sam?
I think did we meet before you left, or we ended up pushing it until after you got back
I think we met when we
virtually?
got back.
We met
We
virtually.
came back, and we came back from DC on, I guess we had like a period where we had to come back for a visit and
Hmm.
we met you on that visit.
It was very interesting. I will say that I'm always hesitant when I'm not hesitant. That's not the right word. I am interested when I'm taking care of, or when I'm called upon by a medical staff person. I'm always interested to understand. I did not think that you would be doing a home birth initially. I was like, okay, this would be a hospital birth, da da da. Because usually the nurses that I've come in contact with, they have hospital births. And when you said home birth, I was like, oh, okay, this is great. This is okay. It was I, from the beginning. I was like, oh yeah, these are my people. This is great. We will have a wonderful working relationship, and we'll be able to understand each other. Lakeisha, as much as she says that I taught her to advocate, definitely came in and was like, Sam, this is what I want. This is what I don't want. You're Black and you're going to be there because I need to make sure that I understand what's going on. And but that's me. You should get a medical provider that is going to give you the safest care. And then you should build your tribe, your birth tribe around it. And if that includes you feeling that you are safe and you're in a space where you have people that look like you, get you a doula, get you whoever you need to make sure that that space is what you need it to be and that you're medically safe. So it was cool to meet you. And you were so you I could tell that you have the bedside manner that goes along with being in nursing, that if my family I shared this with someone that I was like, my doula client, if my parents were going to the hospital or my grandma was in the hospital, I would want her to be their nurse because I feel like she would make sure that they get what they need. You're a doula in your own right, but that's a whole nother conversation. Go ahead. Go ahead on.
Actually, before I became a nurse, I wanted to be a doula. Like, I wanted to go into midwifery, but I just happened to be in nursing school when it happened, became a nurse, and I completely stopped doing everything
Hmm.
that I felt like I was led to do. Honestly, because when I got into nursing, I hit the ground running in COVID,
Hmm. Oh, yeah.
which is probably why I do have a great sense of advocacy, because I did have to advocate for my COVID patients, like on another level, just because our doctors weren't trying to go in the room and see them.
Hmm.
And I had to sometimes put my foot down. But yes, so we met Sam, and she gave us a lot of great techniques when we were on the road. So she gave us yoga techniques on how to make sure that I'm able to breathe. I'm able to breathe because my baby was growing at a tremendous rate. He was trying to stay with me. He stayed, I think he was like a week or two over.
It was a week and some change. I had to look
And
back at my notes. It was a week and some change.
and he did not want to come out, and I can tell you now he would rather go back. He would rather go back. But initially what I did was I met with my midwife, and when I went to her, it felt good to be in a space where I didn't feel confined to medical equipment. I see that on a daily basis. I knew exactly what I wanted to do because I always knew that I didn't want to go into the hospital because of the confines, and because even though I am a healthcare provider, normally when you go into the hospital as a healthcare provider, they look at you a little bit differently because they're like, oh, they're going to be a hassle. They're going to ask for too many things. They're going to think they know it all. And so sometimes you have a worse experience than someone who knows nothing about medicine. And so I decided at that point, that I was going with my midwife, and I would go off and I would travel, and then we would fly back in for occasional appointments. And so Sam was very, very involved with us throughout the process. And I think we were leading up until the birth, but I ate a hot dog from Sonic. I had a chili I had a chili dog from Sonic, and I ended up having some I guess contractions, Braxton Hicks, whatever I had. I felt like I was going into labor. I was holding on to the bed tight. I was like, what is this? What is this trickery? I don't know what's going on. And so I ended up calling my midwife, and I called Sam. My midwife did not answer the phone, and this is why I'm being very very candid about my experience because my midwife didn't answer the phone. Sam answered the phone, and Sam got here that morning. She got here, and I still hadn't heard from my midwife yet. So that was, he wasn't coming at that time, but it just goes to show what type of bedside manner Sam has. And even if you do have a midwife, you have to find the midwife for you. At that time, you go through trial and error in pregnancy, but it's sad that you have to go through it during pregnancy. But they didn't come. Apparently something was wrong with their phone lines. But Sam came. She came to the house. She sat down with me. She talked with me. We walked together, all of those things. And I had a sense of comfort from her. And in addition to that, we went over our birth plan. And she was very, very adamant about teaching my partner how to advocate for me. Even if he probably wouldn't have, because he's one of those people who he's non-confrontational. And the birthing part of it would have weirded him out even more. So we saw that when I had birth, he kind of disappeared. I was like, where is he?
He's getting himself together. Just hang on. He'll be right back.
After we had the baby, he disappeared. So it was very important that we had someone who advocated for me because I knew that he wasn't going to be able to. And you have to know your partner. You have to know what they will say and what they won't say. Because he's non-confrontational and he's squeamish, he probably wouldn't have been able to advocate for me and also see that I'm having a baby. So we flew back in. Now we're stationary at home, and I'm working a travel assignment here, but my mucus plug comes out. I have no idea what's going on because, mind you, I'm a nurse, but I'm not a L&D nurse. So all of the training that I got from there, it's back there. It's back there with a past test. And unless I have to go into L&D, I'll catch up on it on the P's end because I'm in P's OR. But aside from that, I'm like, okay, Keisha, what is going on with your body right now? So I lose my mucus plug. I instantly text Sam. I'm like, what is this? What is this thing? And she texts me back right then. And I can tell you that at the moment while I'm guessing I'm going into labor, I have no idea that I'm going into labor. I'm up all day. Sam reminded me that if I felt like I was going into labor, I need to be resting. But this day, mucus plug is lost. I don't know what's going on. I'm up binging something. I think something about Treasure. National Treasure is a series on Disney. And I'm up binging that. I'm talking to my brother. He's like, oh, you're going to have your baby today. Like, you're going to have your baby tomorrow because my birthday is tomorrow. I'm like, never having a baby on your birthday. Never, ever in a million having a baby on your birthday. My baby will not share a birthday with you. He will not share a birthday with you. And so I'm up all day binging these episodes. And mind you, like I said before, Sam said, you need to rest. You need to rest because there are times during pregnancy where you may be too tired to push. So, now we're going into the night, right? And I start having some contractions. I don't know what's going on. Mind you, my water never broke. So I'm waiting on my water to break to be an indicator of me going into labor. My water never breaks. So I start having these weird feelings. I'm getting hot. It's almost like my period was on. I'm hot. I don't know what's going on. I think I might be about to have this baby, but I'm not sure. So let me text Sam. So I'm texting Sam before I'm texting my midwife. So then I get a big one and I'm like, I think I'm having some contractions. So I call my midwife and automatically she's on the phone. She was like, how far are your contractions apart? I don't know how far they're apart, but I know you need to get here. And at this time, she is kind of sort of trying to not come. So she's like, well, are you sure? Are you sure? I'm like, look, I don't want to have to tell you again that you need to get here. And you know what, Sam? You're right. Like, advocating for my patients taught me to advocate for myself, because it was a long time where I did not advocate for myself in life in general. And so learning how to advocate for them taught me that sometimes people don't take your health serious. And so, because I'm like, I'm on the phone, I'm talking to this woman and I'm telling her that I need her. And she is trying to make every excuse to not come out here. I call Sam, she's automatically on the road. Now, she is, how far away were you? 2 hours?
I was I made it in an hour and 45, but yes.
To my house before my midwives who lived across town. So they knew who she was. So this leads me to say, you pay for your midwife, right? But they offset a lot of the responsibilities to Sam, and I'm sure she was glad to do it, because that was just her nature. It's just in her nature to do it. But I can say that, I paid my midwife. They came, they talked a little bit, they talked too much. I needed them to stop. So sometimes you're going to go through pregnancy and sometimes you feel like you can't say the things, because I did hesitate whenever she was speaking too much, or overloading me with information. There was a point where I was like, should I advocate for myself? I'm not sure. But I did have to, because at that point in time I needed it to be calm. I needed to have a sense of like, I'm about to have this baby, and all this time I haven't had fear around my pregnancy, but now I'm coming into feeling like, are my midwives gonna like do what they need to do for me? Are they gonna see me? Because when they arrived on scene, they didn't arrive with the person of color that was supposed to come with them, the black woman that was supposed to come with them, because I did not know that she had left until I think you told me that she was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody had informed me of that. And so I automatically was up in arms, and I don't know if you could tell that I was kind of feeling a bit uncomfortable, because then I felt like I was conned.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I wasn't briefed on what my true experience would be.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I went into midwifery, and that's why I led with, I wanted a person of color. And although I did go to, specifically a black woman, although I did go to a midwife clinic here that is not owned by a black woman, but they led with that for me. So when they came here and I saw that she wasn't here, because I think she sat in on like one or two of my appointments,
Mm-hmm.
and she wasn't here, I was like, hold on, is she coming any other time? And they cycled out with somebody else, and it still wasn't her. Um, so me and Sam, we thugged it out through the night. I was up and down. I'm a person, and I love to talk about this part. I don't drink anything in the bathroom. That is a no bathroom. I don't drink close to the bathroom. So I'm up and down. The most comfortable spot for me at this time was either on my yoga ball or on the toilet. And so I'm on the toilet, and all of a sudden I'm like, I'm gonna have to drink in this bathroom. I'm gonna have to drink in this bathroom, because at this point, like, I have to. Sam is telling me I need to stay hydrated. I'm extremely tired, because again, I bitch watch National Treasure all day long, and this baby is coming. Throughout my pregnancy, I never had a pelvic exam, which is why I still was like, am I really in labor? Because again, my water did not break at all. And so, like, I'm up and down, I'm laying on the bed. I purposefully did not wake my partner up during this time, because I knew that he was gonna be up doing all the other things. And Sam informed me of that, like, let him get his sleep. I'm here for you, because he'll be expending a lot of his energy during the day while you're asleep. if you have the baby today. And so we had already put the pool together maybe earlier that week. And so he started filling up the pool and doing all those. No, you filled up the pool.
We did it together. We did it together. It was already up, but we just had to fill it and put the hoses on the shower and move that rug
So
because you told us not to
we
get your rug wet.
we they did all the things themselves. So my midwife was home asleep. It wasn't the money that I spent. And Sam did all the work. And I'm glad that she's a midwife now because she did all the things for me to have a great pregnancy. And so when my midwife was in the kitchen talking to me, she was like, okay, you're fine. Because that at that time, that was the first time that I had a pelvic exam. They were like, you're dilated a little. I don't remember how far they said I was dilated, but it wasn't time yet. And so they were like, we're going to go home. And whenever you're ready, Sam will know. Sam will know when you're ready. And she'll reach out. I was like, they're putting all the responsibilities onto Sam now. This is me. I'm like, why? And I don't know if I told you this, but I'm like, why are they putting all the responsibilities off on? She is my doula. She is my doula. Y'all are my midwives. Like, I paid you for that responsibility. I paid her for her responsibility. If I had paid her what I paid you, I would have just paid Sam all that money.
Sam
I
would have
would
been
have just
happy
paid
for
Sam all. And I'm like, going through the emotions of, I don't even feel like I'm being heard at this point. I'm being heard by you.
her.
But to me, like, the midwife is leading this show. My doula is there to help advocate for me if anything goes wrong. But my midwife is supposed to be the person that is making this birth happen. And so, like I said, up and down, in and out the bed. And I'm like, Sam, when is she was like, you're gonna know, like, you're not entering into, but you're gonna know when it happens. I promise you, you're gonna know. And I'm like, girl, no, I'm feeling the thing now. I'm feeling all of this now. I need for you to tell me, like, what is going on here. And she was like, you're gonna know. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like,
I'm about
what
ready to
is
cuss you
happening?
out too.
And all of a sudden, I'm in the bed and I'm like, hold on now. this is different. This feels this feels a lot different than like the extreme period cramp feeling, like the overheating, the needing to move around, the wanting to like lay on the floor type of thing. And so I get like this huge feeling like, I think this is it, Sam. I think this is it. I think I'm feeling it. And she was like, okay, 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 hold on. And whenever you're ready, we're gonna get you to the pool. So then we call our midwives and then they come in. But again, like Sam being my doula, there were times like she was definitely the lead of the show. And my midwife's just kind of sat back. And of course, she is training to be a midwife. But this was not her. This was not her in training.
It was
she
not
was
me in training.
she was doing a job, and I feel like now that I've been through that experience, would I go with them again? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go with that particular facility. They helped me a lot with the ease of being a new mom, yes, because at a certain point in my appointments, I stopped going in. They started coming to the house and seeing me. And so I think that was a beautiful thing, to make sure that I'm having appointments while I'm in house, somewhere that I'm going to be comfortable with, somewhere that I'm going to have this baby. So I'm finally in the pool. One of the things that I wanted to do was listen to music. I wanted a quiet room. Thus why I delayed calling my parents to come down, because I knew that. And sometimes you do have to advocate in that way for yourself. You have to be like, "Hey mom, you have a lot of anxiety around me having this baby. Come down after he's born. Come down. Come down after he's born." And so while I'm in the pool and I'm I'm just I'm out of it, really. I'm sleeping in between contractions. Um I'm dead tired because again, I've been up binging all day long. And I think I was gonna have this baby today. Why would I have this baby today on my brother's birthday? Why? Um and so like I'm still like, it's no way that I'm having this baby if my water did not break. Like, what is going on here? So at this point, we're in labor and I'm pushing, and my partner, like, he's handing me the water and putting the chapstick on me and stuff. And I'm still like, ain't no way I'm having this baby today. My water did not break. And so this whole time, like, Sam is there and she's by my side. And that's why I will reiterate a million times during this is that you should have a doula that cares about you, that has a lot of not, they don't even have to have the most experience being a doula, but having the experience of being empathetic towards people and their experiences. Um she was that for me. I can say that I think the student that they had may have come in maybe once or twice. They helped a little bit here and there from what I remember, because again, I was in labor. I was sleeping during my during my contractions, and I just remember pushing, and then Sam being like, on this last push, you're going to bear down. And Sam told me this, not my midwife. My midwife was very quiet. I guess she was she was okay with you leading the show because she knew the work ethic that you have. But I can say, being in healthcare, when you are a Black woman and you are good at what you do, a lot of times they won't do their job because they're like, oh, she has it. You were not on their payroll.
That's the part that
And
oftentimes causes the turmoil or the disconnect between support people. I would imagine even nurses and doctors to some extent, especially in the OR and things like that. The fact that I was there as your doula, I did make it very clear that I would not be performing any midwifery type care, because I do make a clear delineation in that. And that conversation was actually had outside of you, like in the living room, like I said,
okay.
outside of the family. Like, this is what I'm here to do. I don't want to catch a baby today. I don't want to determine if she's bleeding too much. I think that you all need to focus on that so that I can focus on her and her partner and making sure that they have what they need to be here. And I'm also not a person that's gonna I'm going to do what I can to make sure that you feel heard, to make sure that you are heard and you are seen, and that the things happen that should happen accordingly, because birth stories never leave people. And your
Mhm.
perception of your birth, it doesn't matter what I saw, what your husband saw, it does not matter what we heard. It only matters because that's going to live with you forever, the way that you perceived it. Now, some of the smaller things that happen, in pictures, you'll be like, oh, okay, I don't even remember that happening. But those things that live with you forever are going to shape how you remember birth. And if you decide to do birth again, how you tackle doing birth again. And that's the most important part of the work that I do, and trying to make sure that when you call and you're not sure, I'm there. It doesn't matter. I agree to be here for you, whether it's a midwife or as your doula. Okay, I'm gonna take that ride. And I think at some point I was like, I'm gonna go get me something to eat, but I'm gonna be here. I'm gonna go. I went to Waffle House. That's where the John D story came from. I'm gonna go to Waffle House and I'm gonna eat, but I'm gonna be right down the street. And if anything changes, call me and I'll just bring it back. I'll be right around. So I think that that's the difference between people that are doing this work that are burnt out, people that are doing this work that have not taken on the cultural responsibility of understanding why Black women are afraid to be in a hospital, to be in a doctor's office, or to be cared for by white folks if they are unsure of what their intentions are.
Yeah, and so I like you said, you had those conversations outside. I had no idea that you had that conversation because in my head and in my fiance's head, we're like, Sam is doing all the work. Sam is definitely doing all the work, and it to us it was not fair. But I bear down and I push, and my baby, he comes out, right? But when he comes, he's still in the sack, y'all. Still in the sack. Like he comes out and he is still in the sack. They have to break the sack open, get him out. And at that point I'm like, okay, like I'm a mom. I am a mom now. But postpartum always happens. So I'm like, okay, not only do I have to birth him, I have to birth this placenta. Like and for me as a new mom, I got it encapsulated and I also got a tincture. That's kind of up to your discretion whether that's something that you want to do or not. You may not want to take a capsule. You may want to. I did see that there were benefits of having it encapsulated because it allows for an increase of milk production. Not FDA approved, of course, but or it has not been scientifically verified.
Mhm.
That's what they say. But in some texts, it does say that it does help with increase of milk production. And so that was my choice to do with my placenta. And so whenever I had my baby, the next thing that happened was they put me into the shower. I know you remember this. So my midwives put me into the shower and I am passing out because at this point I probably need to rest, right? Like I
Exhausted.
probably need to rest. They put me into a hot shower. Mind you, I like my showers hot, but I'm exhausted. I have done a lot of work. I'm exhausted. Like I am super duper tired and I'm passing out. So I'm on the floor. Like I'm in the shower, dang near on the floor. And I'm like, why? What is going on here? And where is Sam? Because Sam was in the living room when they did this.
I could not believe when
Um,
I came in. I it happened so fast. I don't know. I think I had stepped away just to take a breather, which I typically do after birth. I take a second to gather myself, get things, and usually they're doing medical things, getting blood pressures, making sure they were putting you in the shower.
put me in the shower. And so then from that point, I laid down and then, now I have my baby and I'm a mom now. So I get stitched up, but to that part of the story ends, but the way that Sam continuously made sure that I was taken care of, she washed dishes, she came back over the next day. I think my dad ended up cooking breakfast for us. It was such a beautiful moment, but had Sam not been there, I don't know if I would have felt as comfortable to speak up about my care or to even I think it's strength in numbers for things like this. I think when you feel like you're outnumbered in a particular setting that you can't speak how you feel, I think that because I had a black doula, I briefed my fiance on what I was going to do, what I was going to say, because again, he's non-confrontational. Um, but I felt like it was strength in numbers in that aspect. I feel like sometimes when you're outnumbered by medical staff, particularly white people in medicine, you don't feel comfortable speaking up for yourself because you don't want to come off as the angry black person. You don't want to come off as the angry black woman. But for my baby, I will.
Mhm. Mhm.
For my baby, I will. And so to have her there and to brief me on the things to come. So I did not know that I needed to set my baby up an appointment like right after he was born. Those were things that Sam informed me on that my midwife had not. And so I think it's very, very important that you have a doula that's like Sam. But at the same time, Sam is a midwife now, so y'all go to her to be your midwife, and you can still find a doula as well because now her role is a lot different than it was. Of course, she still has the doula spirit, And you can see it here in this video. But I can say for me and my birthing process, had I not had a doula, had I not had Sam there to advocate for me, to make me feel comfortable enough to advocate for myself, I think that it would have gone a way that I did not want it to go. And I think that it was a beautiful thing to have my baby here at home.
Mm-hmm.
Because many times it's so much stigma around having home births. I have no idea why, but when I first started talking about it with my family, they were like, "You having a home birth?" Of course, my dad was like, "Okay, that's fine. Go ahead. I was born at home." But my mom was like, "You sure you want to have a home
Mm-hmm.
birth?"
It's almost like now people are so used to the hospital that the hospital is the standard of care. They forget that we didn't have access to the hospital.
hmm
We were lived too far away. And then when we did get to the hospital, we were not getting the care that was minimally okay. And I'm so grateful. Oftentimes people will ask me, how did you feel after that birth? Or how was it? I'm always just grateful that someone or some families see it fit for me to be a part of the experience. I don't take it lightly in either role as a doula or as a midwife because you could choose anyone, and I think that people should choose someone that comes with a wealth of knowledge and the thing and not be afraid to say I'm not sure but let me find out for you. I come from an education background. I always want people to be educated on the things that they're making decisions on. So I'm so grateful to have been a part of your birth and watching
You?
you bloom as a mom just over that period of time. It was amazing. That's the one thing I wish that I could do a little bit better as a doula, is capturing those moments and those pictures, because it was very, I can still see the moments from you being in the bathroom to you looking at me and being like, Sam, I don't drink in the bathroom. I get it, but just a little bit, just a little bit, into you getting into the tub and transitioning and realizing, okay, he is going to be here soon, maybe, because my water still hasn't broke. Y'all say he's going to be here, but I'm not sure. And then after he was born and you were in the bed and you were doing better, and you just looking down at him with this such an endearing look, and just watching you over those first couple of weeks blooming into a mom, just it was such a beautiful process. And now you're the evolved nurse, and that is amazing all by itself. So it's so lovely, and I just want to tell you thank you again. Your family is always a part of my family. I'm always waiting for that next. But the only I do doula work. That was a lot of do's. However, only for repeat clients that are doing hospital births, because I do have some clients that were like, okay, you need to be at my birth no matter what. And, or if some people knew me as a doula, they don't know me as a midwife. And they're like, well, I liked my midwife and I liked you. Okay, let's make it happen. I try not to make a habit of it, but a repeat client, I'm a sucker for. So outside of that, I do referrals for doulas. I have doulas on the team. My partner is a male doula, so he does partner doulaing and all of these things. So, and he does births with me sometimes too. If the family's on board for it and it's somebody that's a part of our tribe, we do the things together. So it's a whole thing that's coming up and happening.
Okay. So because I know we are over time right now.
hmm
Where can they find you?
You can find me on all platforms at Sugarpot: Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn. You can email me if you need information. I'm a resource portal before I am anything. If you're just looking for information, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Info@sugarpot.com. Sugarpot is SHUGAPOTT.com. Please reach out. I'm always happy to help in any way that I can. Even if you're not in Florida, I can help connect you to people that are in your area that will do well and do good by you.
Thank you. Thank you so much again, Sam. And you go make it to your support group.
Thank you.
You make
Yes,
it there.
parenting support group time. Thank you, Lakeisha, for having me. We'll chat soon.
Thank you. I really do appreciate it. You have a great day and be safe.
Thanks. You do the same. Peace and love.